Hi, Assalamualaikum to Dr. Naziatul as our lecturer for HFT20203 Business Statistics for L2. So today we are going to present our answers for the group assignment task that has been given to us. So before we start, I would like to introduce our group members that consist only two of us. So the first one is me, myself. I am Anis Batrisha Ardani binti Arizal with the metric number H19A0922. And my other partner was Nur Hafiza binti Hamzah with the metric number H19A0935. Okay, so next for the table of content in this assignment, it consists of 5 parts, which part 1 was the introduction. For part 2, we need to answer the question ones that ask for the data arrangement. And part 3, we need to answer the question 2, which asks us to do the graphical method. For part 4, we need to answer the question 3, which asks for the measure of central tendency, measures of variation, and measures of position. And the last one, for part 5, is the conclusion. Okay, next we move on to the introduction. For the first point, statistical expertise aids in the collection of data, the application of reliable analysis, and the efficient presentation of results. So basically, we use statistics to analyze a bunch of data where we will construct the data and put it in a suitable table so it can make us easier to read the data. So after that, then we can make an analyzation and we can see the results through the statistic test. So the second point is statistics is an important part of how to make scientific discoveries, make data-driven decisions, and make a forecast. So for these points, it shows that the statistics is really useful in all kind of scientific research or for making such decisions. Okay, so for the third points is statistic assists researcher to have a better understanding of a subject, and statisticians serve as mentor or for deriving meaning from data and avoiding frequent pitfalls that might lead to erroneous conclusion. So for these 2 points, we can see that by using statistic method, we can have more understanding of something that we were researching for, and it could avoid us from making erroneous decision or a wrong conclusion if we manage to follow every step that has given in the statistic test. Okay, so we will move on to the next part where we will show our answer for the question 1, where it asks us to construct the data or arrange the data into a suitable table. So the tables that we did was the class and frequency distribution table, the relative frequency table, and the cumulative frequency table. So before that, I will show you the data that we use to construct into a suitable table. So the data that we get was the current price in 1,000 ringgit Malaysia of bungalows for a given size in square feet in Alor Kedah. So we have about 28 data that we need to arrange. So as you can see, in this slide, as I have mentioned before, we will show you three tables that we have did, where the first one we have determined the class and do the frequency distribution using the 5 basic steps. And the second one, we will show you the relative frequency table, where to get the relative frequency table, we will divide class frequency with the sample size. And the third tables that we will show was the cumulative frequency. So in order to get to determine the class, we will use the formula 2 square of k is bigger than n. So our n was 28, the sample size was 28, and after try a few of number, so finally we get 2 square of 5 equal to 32. So 32 is bigger than 28, so we decide to use 5 as our number of classes. So for step 2, we need to calculate the class width, where the maximum entry need to be subtract with the minimum entry, and the answer will need to be divided by the number of classes. So our max entry was 298.8, subtract with the minimum entry 224.4, and the answer will be divided by the number of classes, which is 5. So the answer is 14.9, and we round it up, becomes 15. Okay, so for the next part, where we will explain for the question 2, the question asks us to put the data, the data that we have construct into a table into a graphical method. So as our data was a quantitative variable data, we will be using the histogram and the frequency polygon graph. Okay, firstly for the histogram graph, before we do the graph, we need to make a table first. So in the table, what we need was the class that we have calculated before, and the frequency also. And we need to calculate the midpoint, which to get the midpoint, we need to add the upper entry with the lower entry for the class and be divided by 2. So as for example, for the first class, 224.0 will be added with a 238.9, and the answer will be divided by 2. So the answer was 231.45. That is the midpoint for the first class. For the second class, 239.0 will be added with 253.9, and the answer will be divided by 2, and it will be 246.45. So that's the midpoint for the second class. Okay, as for the frequency, also same as the class, we just take from the table that we have calculated before. Okay, so this is how histogram graph will be. So as you can see, the frequency number will be put on the y-axis, and the midpoint number will be put in the x-axis. So based on the graph, we can conclude that the highest current price was the 291.45 with the frequencies 9, and the lowest current price was the 231.45 with the frequency 3. So next, for the frequency polygon graph, we will use the same table as the histogram graph, where it will be class, the table class, the midpoint table, and the frequency table. Okay, so this is how the frequency polygon graph will look like. Same as the histogram graph, the frequency number will be put in the y-axis, and the midpoint number will be put at the x-axis. So based on the frequency polygon graph, we can analyze the movement of the current price, where based on our data, the current price was increasing from 3 frequency to the 9 frequency.
So after finish construct all the data given into table and plot the graph, we can proceed with question number 3, where we require to find and explain the value of central tendency, position, also variation. First, let's start with measures of central tendency, that basically a value that represents the center of a distribution. There are most commonly used in this measure, which is mean, median, and mode. Mean for our sample is approximated by x bar equal to total fx divided by n, where x is a midpoint of a class, f is frequencies of a class, n is a number of entries in sample. So to calculate this calculation, we need to take 7,545.6 divided by 28. So the mean of the current price of bungalow for the given size square feet in Alostar Kedah is Rm269,049. So for the median calculation, we need to follow this formula given, where Lm plus in bracket n divided by 2 minus total Fm negative 1 divided by Fm close bracket multiples with C. First, we need to fill the bracket because we need to solve the calculation in bracket first, which is n divided by 2 mean 28 divided by 2, we will get 40, and we will minus 40 with cumulative frequency before median, which is 90, and you solve it first so you can divide the amount with Fm, which is frequencies of median class 6. So after you solve the calculation in the bracket, you can multiples with class width, which is 50.9, and sum it with lower class boundaries of median, which is 268.5. So you will get the answer 271.15. Next, for mood calculation, we will use this following formula, where Lm for lower class boundaries of modal class, which is 283.5, and triangle 1 is 3. The difference between frequency of modal class and the frequency of the class before modal class. And we will divide rectangle 1 with rectangle 1 plus 2. Rectangle 2 means the difference between frequency of modal class and the frequency of the class after modal class. Means in the bracket, we have 3 divided by 3 plus 9, and close the bracket, we will multiply with class width, which is 582.9. Right, and so for this calculation, just same, you need to solve in the bracket first. After that, you multiples and you can continue with the sum, and you will get the answer is 429.23. So let's proceed with measures of variation. It is a sum parameters attempt to describe the amount of variation between random variables. There are 3 parameters that used to quantify the amount of variation in a set of random variables consists range, variance, and standard deviation. The purpose of range data calculation is to know the difference between the maximum and minimum data entries in the set given. So for this formula is a simple one, where we need to take the maximum data entry, we minus with minimum data entry, where 298.8 minus 224.0, so we will get the answer 74.8. That was the answer for the range data. So for variance and standard deviation, we will use a group data formula, which is s power of 2 equal to 1 divided by n minus 1, open bracket, the total of fx power of 2 minus total fx power of 2 divided by n, and close the bracket. For standard deviation, we still use the same formula, but we need to add the power source for the formula. But basically, to calculate the variance, we need to construct the table first, which is the table for the amount of fx and fx power of 2. To get the amount, you need to take frequency amount divide by x to get the fx, and to get fx power of 2, you need to take frequency divide by x power of 2. So after you calculate all the amount, you you will get the final total, and the final total we will take to replace into the formula. So after you replace all the formula, you need to solve in the bracket first. So after you solve in the bracket, you will get 9,966.89. You need to multiples with the 0.04, and the final answer for variance you will get 369.4. So for standard deviation, you need to take the variant answer and power solve, so you will get 19.21. So the last calculation is measures of position. This measure of position to determine the data from the lowest to the highest. But there are different measures in this position, but for this topic we only focus on the quartile, which is first quartile, the lower one, cut off 25% of data or 25 percentiles, and the third quartiles is upper quartiles, cut off highest 25% of data or the lowest 75% of the data. And the difference between upper and the lower quartile is called or known as interquartile range. So the first step of solution in quartile is you need to find the location of quartile 1 and quartile 3, means Q1 equal to n divided by 4, where you need to replace n with 28, so you will get the 7 for the answer. That means quartile 1 is located at 7th position, and for quartile 3 you need to take 3n divided by 4, means the n you need to replace with 28, and you will get the answer is 22. So for the Q3, the location is at 21st position. So the second step is to find the value of Q1 and Q3 using formula as follows given. So after you fill all the formula, you can replace with the amount given. For the quartile 1, you will get 251.22, and quartile 3 you will get 310.05. And for the last step is find the values of interquartile range. You need to take the amount Q1 and Q3 in the step 2, and you replace the Q3 minus Q1, which is 310.09 minus 251.22, and you will get the answer for interquartile range is 58.53. As the conclusion, the shape of distribution for this data calculation are non-symmetry because the distribution which there is no such mirror imaging. Moreover, there are 3 types of shape distribution, but we think the suitable one is skewed left shape. This is because skewed left shape is still extend to the left, and based from the calculation above, we state that mean less than median and median less than mean. So we finally conclude that the determined distribution is skewed left shape. I think that's all from us. Thank you.